All right, welcome. I've since deleted my last video since Bergeron and Krejci were signed because now Zacha has signed. My speculation was that this was going to go to arbitration. Zacha declined his $3 million qualifying offer in New Jersey and then again in Boston. So they finally found a compromise. We'll get started with the signings that happened today, which is exciting. Bergeron signed a 1-year, $2.5 million contract with an extra $2.5 million in performance incentives. It's a bargain contract for a top line centerman who just won the Selke Trophy last year as best defensive forward in the league. Probably one of his best defensive performances throughout an entire season of his career, let alone perhaps in the history of hockey. It was an incredible season Bergeron had defensively. And the dude can score too, so that's pretty great. Krejci, he's back after a year-long hiatus in Czechia. Signed a 1-year, $1 million contract with $2 million extra in performance incentives. That's great. The performance incentives are fantastic for these players because they're taking a discount, especially for Krejci. We don't know what he's necessarily going to bring to the table after a year off playing in a different league with a very different style of play, a different level of play. And the Czechia League is still excellent, but it's very different from the NHL. The NHL is more physical. There's a lot of different aspects between the Czechia League and the NHL. So we'll see. I expect Krejci and Bergeron to get at least a good portion of the extra $2.5 and $2 million respectively. And other news, Zacha has signed officially with the Boston Bruins. Again, he was a restricted free agent. The Devils didn't want to pay him his $3 million qualifying offer. They offered it. He rejected it. They didn't want to deal with the arbitration. So the Bruins and Zacha agreed to a $3.5 million contract for 1 year. This brings Zacha to be a UFA at the end of the year. So should Zacha continue to have stats like he has the past few seasons, he'll probably see a pay reduction, but nonetheless, I think it's a decent contract. I mean, I projected he would sign about $3.2 million after arbitration. This is kind of a compromise. You're splitting hairs with a few $100,000. I wish that was the scenario with my job. But for $3.5 million to avoid arbitration, to avoid that kind of banter and argumentative environment that can invoke is fine. It's good. Bruins are investing in a young player, and hopefully that reflects well on Zacha. So with that being said, these are the projected starting lineups for the season, just for offense. And my last video, I didn't even think. I kind of just put on the board what, I don't know, seemed fine. But this may be a more accurate representation of what we'll see to start the season off. First line, you'll have Bergeron centering, Pastrnak on the right wing, and either DeBrusk or Zacha on that left wing. I think it's interchangeable. DeBrusk is a natural left wing. He's been playing on the right wing the past few years because they've had a plethora of left wings. So we'll see if they move DeBrusk back to left wing and he gets a chance to play on that first line. If not, it'll be Zacha for sure. The second line, it will be Hall, Krejci centering that line with what I anticipate to be Craig Smith. This was the line a couple years ago that was dominant. One of the best second lines in the league. And when you get Marchand back on that first line, it's two of the best lines in hockey, which is fantastic. Assuming Bergeron and Krejci don't decline on the points board all that much. They're two fantastic centermen. I expect they'll have great seasons. We'll see what comes of it. Smith can be a wild card. He had a really down year last year, but when he was playing on a line with Krejci and Hall, he looked fantastic. He did not look out of place. He had chemistry. All three of these guys had great chemistry. We'll see if they can replicate that. If not, I'd expect Smith to move down rather quickly and DeBrusk be in at least a top six winger role at the very least. So a lot of contingencies, a lot of options for the new coach Montgomery to play around with, which is nice. On that third line, you'll have Coyle centering it with Frederick on that left wing and Zacha or DeBrusk on that right wing. Again, we'll see who gets the nod at the first line left wing spot to start the season. I think a lot of it's going to come down to training camp and who performs and who finds. If Zacha has chemistry with Bergeron and Pastrnak, he might be a shoo-in for the spot. But DeBrusk has also shown he can score goals and he works really well with Bergeron. So it could be a good scenario going either way. Training camp will tell more of that picture. Fourth line, you have Foligno on the left wing, Tomas Nosek centering with Oscar Steen on the right wing. Chris Wagner will be he's a depth forward at this point. Natural centerman's played a lot of wing the past few years. Again, spent really the entire season. When he played like 1 or 2 games in the NHL last year, spent the entire season in the AHL with the Providence Bruins. Came up, played in the playoffs for the Bruins, and he was pretty good. I'm a big Chris Wagner fan. Bruce Cassidy, the former Boston Bruins coach, did not necessarily agree, but he brings a physical element too, which is really nice. So if you need to turn that third line into a grinder line, you can. You have that option. You can bring Frederick down into that line and have Wagner center it and really have a physical grinder line. These are just options that Montgomery will play out with. I doubt we'll see Wagner centering a line, but stranger things have happened, and who knows? It could work out. We'll see. But it's exciting. You got 3 huge signings done. The roster is essentially set for opening. The forward group is gonna be a little fluid to open up the season, so don't take this as Bible, because this could change. This is just my projected lineups at this point. Keep in mind, Marchand and Charlie McAvoy and Matt Grzelcyk will all start the season on LTIR, which will clear up this cap space. Right now, the Bruins are $2.24 million over the cap. Once you put that money on long-term injured reserve list, it'll clear up. It should clear up enough cap space to cover that. They'll probably have maybe another $500,000-$600,000 to play around with. But that's putting the cart before the horse. We'll see. I'm not a capologist. I do like numbers, but yeah, we'll see with that. It could be an interesting lineup. It's going to be an interesting start to the season with 2 of the top 4 defensemen essentially out on LTIR, with your top left wing, one of the best left wings in the league. I don't want to say the best because there's plenty of other left wings who I would rank higher than Marchand, but Marchand is a driver of this team, a driver of the offense, and an incredible defensive player. When Marchand's on the line with Bergeron and Pastrnak, it's one of the best lines in the league, and there's no question about that. So it'll be different once these guys come back and are healthy and can contribute to the lineup. Until then, it's going to be a really interesting start to the season. Do they score enough goals? Does Krejci have that chemistry with Hall and Smith like he used to have? Will this first line left wing work out, contribute? Will Pastrnak move back down to the second line? Should this first line be kind of null and void and not be contributing at a rate they should be? There's a lot of questions that will still need to be answered once the preseason starts and once training camp is going on, that we don't have right now. We will, hopefully, at the end of when the season starts. But for now, this is what I'm going with. This is probably how I would start the Bruins if I was in charge of the lines, which I most certainly have no contribution to that. And DeBrusk and Zacha, you gotta see who wins that job in training camp and go from there. Both have potential. Both were 2015 draft picks who haven't necessarily lived up to the hype they were supposed to. DeBrusk has had a decent career, a solid career. We'll see. So that's it. If you have questions, I don't know if maybe you have a different lineup. Maybe you still see Pastrnak on that second line. Let me know how that would work out with the first line, who you would put on the first line. If you'd have Zacha, Bergeron, and DeBrusk on that first line, then is that really a first line? And yeah, we can have that conversation. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you excited about the signings that happened today? Zacha, would you have gone to arbitration, or would you have done the $3.5 million? I think I personally am fine with the $3.5 million. You're only saving a couple of $100,000 in cap space, but you can make the argument both ways. definitely going to be an overpaid player this year. Hopefully he grows into his role a little more. He's going to have more opportunity playing, likely a top 6 role throughout the season, if not to start the season. I'm sure we'll see him on the second line at some point. So we'll see. Zacha could be a wild card. It'll be interesting to see how he does. He also has mentorship. Actually, on my last video, there was a comment where you have a lot of leadership in the Bruins locker room, and it's good leadership. You have Foligno, former captain. You have Bergeron, who's like a coach at this point. Krejci, Marchand is a great leader. Pastrnak has his moments. The list goes on. It's a really good group of guys who really just care about each other and care about the game and want to win. So that might be helpful for Zacha in his growth into becoming a solid top 6 forward in the NHL. Right now, he's definitely not there yet. He could progress that way. He's still young. He's still 25. But we'll see what happens. It's something to keep an eye on. But let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Take care.